The chandelier above the mahogany dining table glittered like a constellation, casting flecks of light across the faces of Atlanta's tech elite. The private dining room at the Capitol Grill buzzed with the kind of self-assured laughter that only money and ambition could buy. Keisha Robinson sat at the far end of the table, her silk emerald dress clinging elegantly to her dark skin, her hair swept into a sleek updo. She was the picture of poise, but her eyes betrayed a quiet unease. This was Jordan's world, her husband's world, and she was here as his accessory. Jordan Robinson, all charisma and tailored swagger, held court at the head of the table. His tech startup, Nexus AI, had just secured a $10 million funding round, and tonight was his victory lap. Investors, venture capitalists, and a few local influencers clinked glasses of Veuve Clicquot, toasting his genius. Keisha smiled politely, her fingers tracing the rim of her untouched champagne flute, when she caught the tail end of a conversation that made her heart lurch. "She's lucky, man," said Trey, a slick venture capitalist with a Rolex that screamed new money. He leaned toward Jordan, his voice low but not low enough. "Got yourself a trophy who doesn't even need to think. What's she do all day? Pick out curtains." The table erupted in laughter. Keisha's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes flicked to Jordan, waiting for him to shut it down, to defend her. Instead, he smirked, swirling his whiskey glass. "Nah, she's more like pretty furniture. Looks good, doesn't talk much. She's nothing without me." The words landed like a slap. The laughter around the table swelled, but to Keisha, it was a dull roar, drowned out by the pounding in her chest. She forced a smile, her lips trembling, and excused herself, murmuring something about needing the restroom. As she slipped out of the room, she caught Jordan's glance, unapologetic, almost daring her to react. In the bathroom, Keisha gripped the marble sink, staring at her reflection. The woman in the mirror looked like a stranger. Polished, perfect, but hollow. "Pretty furniture," she whispered to herself, the words bitter on her tongue. She'd given up her graphic design career for him, moved into his sleek downtown loft, and let his dreams eclipse hers. And this was her reward? She splashed cold water on her wrists, steadying herself. "You're not nothing," she said to the mirror, her voice barely audible but fierce. "You're not." The seed of defiance took root, small but stubborn, as she straightened her shoulders and returned to the dinner, her smile now a mask. The drive back to their loft was silent, the Atlanta skyline a blur of neon against the night. Jordan hummed along to a Drake track, oblivious to the storm brewing beside him. Keisha's hands were folded tightly in her lap, her mind replaying his words. "Pretty furniture, nothing without me." By the time they stepped into the loft, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist decor, she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Jordan," she said, her voice steady but laced with hurt, "what you said tonight, that I'm nothing without you. Did you mean it?" He tossed his keys onto the quartz countertop and loosened his tie, barely glancing at her. "What are we talking about now, Keisha? It was a joke. Don't make it a thing. A joke." Her voice rose, sharp enough to make him pause. "You let them laugh at me. You laughed with them. Called me furniture, like I'm just decoration." Jordan sighed, exasperated, and turned to face her. His eyes, usually warm when he wanted something, were cold now. "Look, you're blowing this out of proportion. Those guys are investors, okay? They're crude, but they're the ones writing checks. I was just keeping it light. By tearing me down?" Keisha stepped closer, her heart racing. "I gave up my career for you, Jordan. My designs, my passion, all so I could support your dream. And you stand there and tell them I'm nothing." He scoffed, leaning against the counter. "Support my dream? Keisha, you're living in $1 million loft, wearing designer dresses, no job, no stress. You're welcome. Be grateful you don't have to work." Her jaw tightened. "Grateful? For what?" "Being invisible in my own life." Jordan's laugh was sharp, dismissive. "You're not invisible, you're dramatic. Go to bed, Keisha. We're not doing this tonight." He brushed past her, heading for the bedroom, leaving her standing alone in the dim light of the living room. She wanted to scream, to throw something, But instead, she sank onto the couch, her hands trembling. The loft, with its sleek furniture and curated art, felt like a cage. She glanced at the framed photo on the coffee table, her and Jordan at their wedding, smiling like they had the world figured out. Now, it mocked her. "Who am I?" she whispered, her voice breaking. The question lingered, unanswered, as she curled up on the couch, too raw to join him in bed. The next morning, Jordan left for a meeting without a word, the tension from last night unacknowledged. Keisha sat at the kitchen island, sipping coffee that had gone cold, her mind a tangle of hurt and resolve. She needed something, anything, to anchor her. On impulse, she climbed the spiral staircase to the loft's attic, a space Jordan never bothered with. It was cluttered with boxes from their move, relics of a life before him. She knelt beside a dusty cardboard box labeled Keisha's Stuff, in her own handwriting. Inside were her old sketchbooks, their pages yellowing but filled with vibrant designs, logos, album covers, fashion illustrations. Each stroke of her pencil was a piece of the woman she'd been, bold, creative, unafraid. She traced a drawing of a woman in a flowing dress, her silhouette framed by abstract patterns. "I used to be you," Keisha murmured, her voice thick with longing. She spent hours flipping through the pages, memories flooding back, late nights in art school, brainstorming with her best friend Raina, dreaming of her own design studio. A tear splashed onto the page, smudging the ink. "He doesn't get to take this from me," she said, the words a vow. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her reverie. It was Raina, her voice bursting through the speaker like sunshine. "Girl, you alive? You've been ghosting me since that bougie dinner. What's good?" Keisha hesitated, then let it spill. "Jordan, he called me nothing," Raina said. "I'm just pretty furniture." And I'm starting to believe him. There was a long pause, then Raina's voice came back, fierce. "Oh, hell no. Keisha, you are a whole masterpiece, and he's out here acting like you're IKEA? Nah. You need to remind him, and yourself, who you are. What you doing right now?" Keisha glanced at the sketchbooks. I found my old designs. I forgot how much I loved this." "Then start there," Raina said. "Draw something. Anything. You're not his prop, Keisha. You're a creator. Act like it." The call ended, but Raina's words lit a spark. Keisha carried the sketchbooks downstairs, spreading them across the dining table. She grabbed a pencil and started sketching, a bold, abstract phoenix rising from flames. It was messy, raw, but it was hers. For the first time in years, she felt alive. That night, with Jordan still out networking, Keisha sat cross-legged on the living room floor, her laptop open. The phoenix sketch lay beside her, its lines fierce and unapologetic. Raina's words echoed, "You're a creator. Act like it." She opened Instagram and created a new account under the pseudonym Ink by K. No profile picture, no real name, just a blank canvas. Her first post was the phoenix, captioned, "Rising. Always." She hesitated, her finger hovering over the share button. What if Jordan saw it? What if no one cared? But then she thought of his smirk, his careless words, and hit share with a defiance that made her pulse race. By morning, the post had 47 likes and a handful of comments from strangers. "This is fire. Love the energy here." Keisha's heart skipped. It wasn't much, but it was hers. She spent the day sketching more, vibrant patterns, stylized portraits, designs that blended her southern roots with urban edge. Each post gained traction, her follower count creeping into the hundreds. One evening, as she scrolled through her notifications, a DM popped up from a user named ATL Art Vibes. "Hey, Ink by K, your work is dope. I run a small gallery downtown. Would you be down to sell digital prints? I'd pay $500 for a custom piece." Keisha froze, rereading the message. $500 for her art? She typed a reply, then deleted it, nerves getting the better of her. What if they asked for her real name? What if Jordan found out? She called Raina, her voice shaky with excitement and fear. "Girl, read this," Keisha said, reciting the DM. Raina hooped so loudly Keisha had to pull the phone away. $500? Keisha, that's your comeback. You better say yes before I drive over there and type it for you. But what if Jordan sees? Keisha asked, her voice small. Let him see, Raina shot back. Let him choke on how talented you are. This is your moment, not his. Keisha took a deep breath and typed, I'd love to. Let's talk details. As she hit send, a thrill ran through her. This was her secret rebellion, her first step out of his shadow. The next week was a blur of creativity. Keisha worked late into the night, designing a custom piece for ATL Art Vibes, a vibrant mural design inspired by Atlanta's skyline, with bold colors and hidden nods to her heritage. She emailed the final file from a coffee shop, using their Wi-Fi to avoid Jordan's prying eyes. When the $500 hit her PayPal account, she stared at the notification, tears welling up. It wasn't just money, it was proof she was more than pretty furniture. She celebrated quietly, buying herself a new sketchpad and a set of Prismacolor pencils. Back at the loft, she hid them in a drawer, her secret stash of independence. But the victory was bittersweet. Jordan came home that night, tossing his jacket on the couch, oblivious to the fire growing inside her. You seem different, he said, eyeing her as she sat at the dining table, sketching absent-mindedly. Do I? Keisha replied, her tone neutral but her heart pounding. She closed her sketchbook, hiding the phoenix that now had a life of its own online. Yeah, like you're up to something. He smirked, but there was an edge to it. Don't go getting any big ideas, Keisha. You're good right here. She met his gaze, her smile tight. Don't worry, Jordan. I know my place. The lie tasted sweet, because she was already rewriting her story. As he walked away, her phone buzzed with a new DM. Yo, Ink by K, that mural design is blowing up. Can you do another? Name your price. Keisha's breath caught. This wasn't just a commission, it was the start of something unstoppable. She glanced at the closed bedroom door, then back at her phone, a quiet resolve settling in. You're wrong, Jordan, she whispered. I'm everything. The neon glow of Midtown Atlanta pulsed outside the rooftop bar, where Keisha sat tucked into a corner booth, the city's skyline sprawling behind her like a canvas of possibilities. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and bourbon, and the laughter of strangers mingled with the R&B playlist humming through the speakers. Keisha sipped her mojito, her fingers fidgeting with the straw, her mind still reeling from the $500 commission she'd earned as Ink by K. It was her secret victory, but tonight, she felt the weight of keeping it hidden. Raina, her best friend and a force of nature in a red leather jumpsuit, slid into the booth across from her, her gold hoop earrings catching the light. Their other friend, Nia, a corporate lawyer with a sharp tongue and sharper stilettos, joined them, setting down a tray of shots. All right, ladies, Nia said, her voice cutting through the noise. We're toasting to something tonight. Keisha, you've been too quiet. Spill, what's got you glowing? Keisha hesitated, her eyes darting to the table. She'd kept her Instagram page a secret, even from Raina, afraid of jinxing it, or worse, Jordan finding out. But Raina's stare was unrelenting, her perfectly arched brow raised like a challenge. Don't even try to play coy, Raina said, leaning forward. You're sitting there like you've got a secret bigger than Beyoncé's next album. Talk. Keisha laughed, the tension in her shoulders easing. Okay, fine. She pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, and slid it across the table. Meet Ink by K. Raina snatched the phone, her eyes widening as she scrolled through the vibrant designs. Phoenixes, abstract cityscapes, and bold patterns that screamed Keisha's soul. Nia leaned over, whistling low. Hold up, Raina said, her voice rising with excitement. This is you. These are fire, Keisha. Why the hell didn't you tell me? I didn't tell anyone, Keisha admitted, her voice soft but firm. Not after what Jordan said at that dinner. Called me pretty furniture. Said I'm nothing without him. Her voice cracked, and she looked away, the hurt still raw. Raina's face hardened, her nails tapping the table like a war drum. Nothing? Oh baby, He's about to eat those words with a side of regret. This art. This is your comeback. You're not just talented, you're a whole brand waiting to happen. Nia raised a shot glass, her eyes gleaming. To Keisha, who's about to show that man he's the one who's nothing without her. They clinked glasses, and Keisha felt a warmth spread through her, not from the liquor but from the fire of their belief in her. Listen, Raina said, leaning in conspiratorially. I'm styling a pop-up fashion event next month. Custom jackets, streetwear vibes. You need to collab with me. Put your art on my designs, and we'll make Atlanta lose its mind. Keisha's heart raced. A collab? Raina, I'm just getting started. What if it flops? What if it flies? Raina shot back. You're not furniture, Keisha. You're a damn phoenix. Let's burn it down. Keisha nodded, a slow smile spreading across her face. Let's do it. The decision felt like a leap off a cliff, terrifying, exhilarating, and hers alone. The warehouse in West Midtown was a kaleidoscope of chaos and creativity. Racks of clothing lined the concrete walls, and the hum of sewing machines mixed with the thump of a trap beat. Raina's pop-up fashion event, dubbed ATL Threads, was a week away, and Keisha was knee-deep in her first major project. Her laptop sat on a folding table, open to a digital mock-up of a bomber jacket emblazoned with her phoenix design, its fiery wings stretching across the back. Raina strutted over, holding up the first prototype. The jacket was a masterpiece, black satin with Keisha's phoenix in vivid oranges and reds, accented by gold stitching. Look at this, Raina said, twirling it like a runway model. This is gonna sell out in 10 minutes. I'm calling it now. Keisha ran her fingers over the fabric, her chest tightening with pride. It's real, she said, almost to herself. My art's on something people will wear. Damn right it is, Raina said, tossing her braids over her shoulder. And we're not stopping at jackets. I'm thinking tees, hoodies, maybe even sneakers. Ink by K is about to be a movement. Their conversation was interrupted by a young photographer, Jay, who was documenting the event for social media. Yo, Keisha, right? He said, adjusting his camera. Raina's been hyping you up. Can I get a shot of you with the jacket? People need to see the artist behind this. Keisha froze. I'm not ready for that. I'm keeping it anonymous for now. The thought of her face tied to Ink by K, and Jordan finding out, made her stomach churn. Jay shrugged, unfazed. Cool, mystery artist vibes. That'll hype it even more. He snapped a photo of the jacket instead, and Keisha exhaled, grateful for the reprieve. The night of the pop-up arrived, and the warehouse was packed. Atlanta's influencers, creatives, and fashion lovers mingled under string lights, sipping cocktails and eyeing the racks. Keisha stood in the shadows, wearing a simple black dress to blend in, watching as people swarmed the jackets. Within an hour, every piece sold out, and her Instagram notifications exploded. Tags, reposts, and DMs praising Ink by K. A video of a local rapper wearing her jacket went viral on TikTok, racking up 200,000 views overnight. Raina found her in the crowd, pulling her into a hug. You see this? She said, her voice giddy. You're not just back, Keisha. You're big. Keisha laughed, but her joy was tinged with unease. Jordan had texted earlier, asking why she was out so late. She'd lied, saying it was just a girls' night. But as she watched the crowd celebrate her art, she felt a shift. She wasn't just hiding anymore. She was building something he couldn't touch. The loft was quiet when Keisha slipped in at 1 a.m., her heart still buzzing from the pop-up success. She kicked off her heels and tiptoed toward the bedroom, hoping Jordan was asleep. But the living room light flicked on, and there he was, sitting on the couch, his arms crossed, his jaw tight. Where you been, Keisha? His voice was low, but the edge in it made her pause. Girls' night doesn't last till 1 in the morning. She set her purse down, forcing her voice to stay calm. It ran late. Raina had an event, and I stayed to help. An event. Jordan stood, his eyes narrowing. What, you're her assistant now? Or is this about that little art stuff you've been messing with? Keisha's breath caught. Had he seen her Instagram? She'd been careful, using a pseudonym, avoiding photos of herself. It's not a big deal, she said, sidestepping. Just helping a friend. Jordan stepped closer, his presence filling the room. Don't lie to me. I saw Raina's story, some fashion thing, and people were hyping up some artist. Ink by K or whatever. That's you, isn't it? Her heart pounded, but she held his gaze. And if it is? It's my art, Jordan. I'm not hurting anyone. He laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. Your art? Come on, Keisha. You're playing with doodles while I'm out here building an empire. You think that's gonna matter? Focus on what's real, me, this life, our future. Our future. Her voice rose, the words spilling out before she could stop them. You mean your future, where I'm just your arm candy. You called me nothing, Jordan. I'm done being that. His face darkened, and for a moment, she thought he might yell. Instead, he smirked, his voice dripping with condescension. You're cute when you're mad. But don't get it twisted, you're not about to be some big artist. You're my wife. Act like it. He turned and walked to the bedroom, leaving her standing in the dim light, her fists clenched. The word wife felt like a chain, but her anger was a key. She pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, and posted a new design, a shattered crown, captioned, "Not yours to break." It was reckless, defiant, and exactly what she needed. The next morning, Keisha woke to a quiet loft. Jordan had left for a weekend conference, his absence a relief. She sat at the dining table, sketching furiously, each line a release of the fury and hurt from last night. Her phone buzzed with notifications. Ink by K's follower count had hit 5,000, and her DMs were flooded with commission requests. But beneath the thrill was a growing resolve. She couldn't stay in this marriage, not like this. She started small, practical steps. She opened a separate bank account, depositing her commission earnings. She moved her sketchbooks to Raina's apartment, where Jordan wouldn't find them. Each action was a brick in the wall she was building between her old life and the one she was claiming. That afternoon, she met Raina for coffee at a cozy spot in Little 5 Points. The cafe was eclectic, with mismatched chairs and local art on the walls, a stark contrast to the sterile perfection of the loft. Raina slid into the seat across from her, her eyes scanning Keisha's face. "You look like you're plotting a heist," she said, half joking. "What's up?" Keisha stirred her latte, her voice low. "I'm done, Raina. With Jordan, with being his pretty furniture. I'm not leaving yet. I need a plan, but I'm not his anymore." Raina's face lit up, but her tone was serious. "Good. You deserve better than a man who dims your light. But you know he's not gonna let go easy. He's too obsessed with control." "I know," Keisha said, her jaw tight. "That's why I'm moving in silence. Building Ink by K, saving money, figuring out who I am without him." Raina reached across the table, squeezing her hand. "You're already that woman, Keisha. You just gotta step into her. And when you do, he's gonna wish he never underestimated you." The words settled into Keisha's bones, grounding her. She wasn't just running from Jordan, she was running toward herself. But as she left the cafe, her phone buzzed with a text from him. "We need to talk when I'm back. Don't do anything stupid." Her stomach twisted, but she didn't reply. She was already too far gone. Keisha's childhood home in southwest Atlanta was a sanctuary of warmth and memory. The small bungalow, with its peeling yellow paint and creaky porch, smelled of sage and cornbread. Aunt Dee, the woman who'd raised Keisha after her mother's passing, was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of collards when Keisha arrived. Her silver braids were pulled back, and her eyes, sharp as ever, clocked Keisha's tension the moment she walked in. "Sit down, baby," Aunt Dee said, pointing to the worn kitchen table. "You look like you're carrying the world and half of Georgia on your shoulders." Keisha sank into a chair, the familiarity of the space loosening the knot in her chest. She hadn't planned to spill everything, but Aunt Dee's knowing gaze pulled it out of her. The dinner, Jordan's words, her secret art, the pop-up, and the fight that had left her untethered. When she finished, her voice was raw, her hands trembling. Aunt Dee set a plate of cornbread in front of her, her expression a mix of love and fire. "Let me tell you something, Keisha. That man's ego is so big it's blocking his view of you. But you're a star, always have been. And stars don't shrink for nobody, not even a husband." Keisha's eyes stung. "But what if I'm not enough, Aunt Dee? What if I try and fail?" Aunt Dee leaned forward, her voice fierce. "Fail? Baby, you're already winning. You're making art, making money, making waves. Jordan's scared because he sees you shining, and he knows he can't keep up. Stop shrinking for a man who's terrified of your light." Keisha laughed through her tears, the weight of her aunt's words sinking in. "So what do I do now?" "You keep going," Aunt Dee said, her eyes gleaming. "Build your empire, quiet as it's kept. And when it's time, you walk away with your head high, not because you hate him, but because you love yourself more." Keisha hugged her, the embrace grounding her like nothing else could. As she drove back to the loft, her phone buzzed with a new DM. "Ink by K. I'm with a gallery in New York. We want to feature your work. You in?" Her heart raced, the future unfolding faster than she'd expected. Jordan's text from earlier flashed in her mind, but she pushed it aside. Aunt Dee was right. She wasn't shrinking anymore. She was rising, and no one, not even Jordan, could stop her. The sun dipped low over Atlanta's skyline, painting the city in hues of gold and pink as Keisha stood in the loft's spare room, now her makeshift studio. Canvases leaned against the walls, her laptop glowed with design software, and a stack of freshly printed business cards sat on the desk, each embossed with "NK by KEI" in bold metallic font. Tonight was the night she'd been building toward in secret, the official launch of her brand. Not just an Instagram page anymore, but a full-fledged business with a website, merchandise, and a vision to empower others through art. Keisha adjusted her headset, her heart pounding as she prepared for her first Instagram live. She'd kept her identity anonymous, but Raina had convinced her to show her face for the launch, to claim her moment. "People need to see the woman behind the art," Raina had said. Keisha wore a sleek black blazer over a t-shirt featuring her Phoenix design, her hair in loose waves, her eyes fierce with determination. She hit "Go Live," and within seconds, hundreds of viewers flooded in. "Hey y'all," she said, her voice steady despite the butterflies. "I'm Keisha, the artist behind Ink by K. Tonight, I'm launching my brand, art, fashion, and a whole lot of heart. This is for anyone who's ever been told they're not enough. Let's rise together." Comments poured in, fire emojis, hearts, and messages like "You're killing it." And Atlanta's proud. Keisha unveiled her first collection, bomber jackets, tees, and digital prints, all featuring her signature bold designs. She shared her story, carefully avoiding Jordan's name but hinting at her journey from silence to strength. "Someone once told me I was nothing without them," she said, her voice catching. "But I'm here to tell you, you are everything on your own." The live ended with 10,000 viewers and a flood of orders. Keisha collapsed onto the couch, exhilarated but nervous. Jordan was due back from a business trip tomorrow, and she hadn't told him about the launch. Her phone buzzed with a call from Raina, who was practically screaming with excitement. "Girl, you just broke the internet," Raina said. "That live was electric. You're trending on Twitter. #InkByK is everywhere." Keisha laughed, but her voice was tight. "I'm scared, Raina. Jordan's gonna flip when he finds out." "Let him," Raina said, her tone fierce. "You're not his shadow anymore. You're a whole sun. Keep shining, and don't look back." As Keisha hung up, she glanced at the business cards on the desk. "Ink by K," she whispered, the name a promise. She was no longer just Jordan's wife, she was a force, and she was just getting started. The coffee shop in Inman Park was a cozy haven, with exposed brick walls and the aroma of fresh espresso. Keisha sat in a corner booth, her laptop open to an email from a local podcast, Creative Hustle, inviting her for an interview. They'd seen her Instagram live and wanted to feature her as an emerging artist. The catch? They wanted to discuss The Challenges of Creative Women in Marriage. Keisha's stomach twisted. She'd have to talk about Jordan, even if indirectly. She met the host, Simone, a warm but incisive journalist, at a small recording studio downtown. Simone's braids were adorned with gold beads, and her energy was infectious. "Keisha, your work is blowing up," Simone said as they settled into the studio. "But what's the story behind Ink by K? What made you start?" Keisha took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "I'd put my art on hold for years, trying to fit into someone else's vision of who I should be. I was told I was less than, that my dreams didn't matter. Ink by K was me saying, I'm done shrinking. It's my way of reclaiming myself." Simone leaned forward, her eyes sharp. "That sounds personal. A lot of women, especially in marriages, feel pressure to dim their light for their partner. Was that your experience?" Keisha's throat tightened, Jordan's words, pretty furniture, echoing in her mind. "Yeah," she said softly. "I was made to feel like my worth was tied to supporting someone else's success. But I realized I have my own story to tell, my own art to create. And no one gets to define that but me." The interview dug deeper, exploring how Keisha balanced her growing brand with her personal life. She kept Jordan's name out of it, but her raw honesty struck a chord. When the episode dropped 2 days later, it exploded. Clips of Keisha's interview went viral on TikTok, with creators stitching her quotes over dramatic music, "I'm done shrinking." The hashtag done shrinking trended, and her Instagram followers surged to 20,000. Keisha was at Raina's apartment, scrolling through the comments, when Nia called. "Keisha, you're a movement," Nia said, her voice brimming with pride. "That interview. Women are eating it up. You're giving them permission to take up space." "But what if Jordan hears it?" Keisha asked, her voice low. "He's gonna know it's about him." Nia's laugh was sharp. "Good. Let him squirm. You didn't lie, you just told your truth. Keep going, Keisha. You're untouchable now." Keisha hung up, her heart racing. The interview had been a risk, but it was also a declaration. She wasn't just building a brand, she was building a legacy. Keisha's inbox was a battlefield of opportunity and overwhelm. Between commission requests and collaboration inquiries, one email stood out, marked with a sleek logo, Carter Ventures. The sender was Malik Carter, a tech investor known for backing innovative startups. His message was concise. "Ms. Robinson, your work as Ink by K is remarkable. I believe your brand has serious potential. I'd like to discuss an investment and mentorship opportunity. Can we meet?" Keisha stared at the email, her pulse quickening. An investment could take Ink by K to the next level. Her own studio, a full merchandise line, maybe even a team. But meeting Malik meant stepping further into the spotlight, risking Jordan's wrath. She called Raina, who was at a fabric store, her voice muffled by the rustle of textiles. "Malik Carter?" Raina said, her tone incredulous. "Keisha, that's huge. He's got a Midas touch, everything he invests in turns to gold. You have to meet him. What if Jordan finds out?" Keisha asked, pacing the loft. "He's already suspicious about the pop-up. This feels like crossing a line." "Crossing a line?" Raina's voice sharpened. "Girl, the only line you're crossing is from his control to your freedom. Malik's not just offering money, he's offering you a future. Take the meeting." Keisha agreed, and 2 days later, she sat across from Malik at a sleek co-working space in Buckhead. He was in his early 40s, with a quiet intensity and a tailored blazer that spoke of understated wealth. His dark eyes studied her portfolio, spread out on the table, digital prints, jacket mock-ups, and sketches for a new mural series. "Your work has soul," Malik said, his voice measured but warm. "It's not just art, it's a story. I see Ink by K as a lifestyle brand, not just for Atlanta but globally. I'm prepared to invest $100,000 to start, plus mentorship to scale your operations. What's your vision?" Keisha's breath caught. $100,000? She steadied herself, channeling the confidence she'd faked during her Instagram live. "I want Ink by K to be a platform for empowerment," she said. "Art that celebrates resilience, especially for women who've been underestimated. I'm thinking merchandise, gallery shows, maybe even workshops for young artists." Malik nodded, a small smile breaking through his reserve. "That's a vision I can back. But I have to ask, why the anonymity until now? You're clearly ready to lead this." Keisha hesitated, then decided on honesty. "I've been navigating a personal situation. Someone close to me didn't believe in this. I'm stepping out now because I believe in myself." Malik's eyes softened, but he didn't pry. "I respect that. When you're ready, I'll be here to help you soar." They shook hands, and Keisha left the meeting feeling like she'd just claimed a piece of the sky. The check arrived a week later, tucked into a discreet envelope from Carter Ventures. Keisha sat at Raina's kitchen table, staring at the numbers. $75,000, the first installment of Malik's investment, wired to her new business account. She'd also signed a licensing deal with a local boutique chain to feature her designs on their summer collection, adding another $25,000 to her coffers. It was more money than she'd ever controlled, and it was hers, earned by her talent, not Jordan's name. Raina burst through the door, a bottle of Prosecco in hand. "We're popping bottles tonight," she declared, setting out 2 glasses. "You're out here cashing checks while Jordan's probably bragging about his empire to some investor. How's it feel?" Keisha grinned, but her eyes were distant. "It feels real. Like I'm finally me again. But I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. Jordan's been too quiet since our fight." Raina poured the Prosecco, her expression serious. "He's quiet because he's shook. You're moving faster than he can keep up. But you need to protect this, Keisha. Get your ducks in a row, legally, financially. He's not gonna like losing control." Keisha nodded, the weight of Raina's words settling in. She'd already consulted a lawyer about her options, quietly gathering documents for a potential divorce. The check in her hand wasn't just money, it was freedom, a lifeline to a life she was building without him. As they toasted, Keisha's phone buzzed with a text from Jordan, "Home tomorrow. We're talking. No more games." Her stomach twisted, but she set the phone down, refusing to let him dim her moment. "To Ink by K," she said, clinking glasses with Raina. "And to me." Jordan's birthday was always a spectacle. Lavish dinners, custom suits, and a flood of social media posts flaunting his success. This year, Keisha planned a different kind of gift. She sat at the dining table in the loft, the divorce papers neatly stacked in a manila envelope, her signature bold on the final page. Her lawyer had advised her to wait until she was financially secure, and with Malik's investment and the licensing deal, that moment had arrived. She wasn't just leaving Jordan, she was choosing herself. The loft was decorated for his birthday, a facade of normalcy. Balloons floated in the corner, and a catered dinner waited in the kitchen. Jordan walked in at 7 p.m., his grin wide as he saw the setup. "Now this is what I'm talking about," he said, dropping his briefcase. "You finally acting like my wife again." Keisha stood, her heart steady despite the storm brewing. "Happy birthday, Jordan," she said, her voice calm. She handed him the envelope, her eyes locked on his. "This is for you." He opened it, his smirk fading as he scanned the papers. "What the hell is this?" His voice was low, dangerous. "Divorce? You're joking, right?" "No joke," Keisha said, her tone unwavering. "I'm done, Jordan. I've been done for a while. You called me nothing, but I've built something without you. I don't need this anymore." She gestured to the loft, to their life. Jordan's face twisted with rage and disbelief. "You think you can just walk away? After everything I've given you? You're nothing without me, Keisha. This art thing? It's a hobby. You'll crash and burn, and you'll come crawling back." She stepped closer, her voice like steel. "I was never nothing, Jordan. You just couldn't see it. Ink by K is mine. My talent, my hustle. And I'm not crawling anywhere but forward." He threw the papers on the table, his laugh bitter. "You're making a mistake. You'll regret this." Keisha held his gaze, unafraid. The only mistake was staying this long. She turned and walked to the guest room, locking the door behind her. Her phone buzzed with a notification, another 5,000 followers on Instagram, and a DM from Simone. "Your interview's at 1M views. You're unstoppable." Keisha smiled, the weight of the papers lifting. Jordan's world was crumbling, but hers was just beginning. The air in Atlanta's tech scene was electric with whispers, and Jordan Robinson was no longer the golden boy. Keisha sat at a corner table in a bustling midtown cafe, her laptop open to a string of X posts that had caught fire overnight. The posts, from an anonymous account, hinted at trouble at Nexus AI, Jordan's startup, overpromised to investors. Missed deadlines. CEO more focused on clout than code. One post even mentioned personal drama, with veiled references to a trophy wife stepping out. Keisha's stomach churned. She knew the trophy wife was her, and the leaks were shaking Jordan's carefully curated empire. She sipped her chai latte, her mind racing. Since serving him divorce papers on his birthday, she'd moved into Raina's spare room, avoiding the loft and Jordan's increasingly desperate texts. Her phone buzzed with a call from Malik Carter, her investor and mentor, his calm voice a steady anchor. "Keisha, you've seen the posts?" Malik asked, straight to the point. "Jordan's losing ground. 2 major investors pulled out this morning. Nexus is bleeding." Keisha's fingers tightened around her phone. "I saw. Part of me feels guilty. Like I'm the reason he's crumbling." Malik's tone was firm but kind. "You're not. Jordan's built his house on sand, arrogance and shortcuts. You're just living your truth. Speaking of, your website's crashing from all the Inc. by K orders. Focus on that. Let him handle his mess." Keisha nodded, though he couldn't see her. "Thanks, Malik. I'm trying. It's just loud out there." "Loud means you're making waves," Malik said. "Keep rising. I've got a contact at Forbes who's interested in your story." "You in?" Her breath caught. "Forbes?" "I'm in," she said, her voice steady despite the whirlwind in her chest. She hung up, glancing at a new X post. Nexus AI CEO spotted arguing with staff. "Trouble in paradise?" The photo showed Jordan outside his office, his face contorted in anger. Keisha felt a pang of pity, quickly replaced by resolve. His downfall was his own doing, and she had her own empire to build. That evening, she met Raina at a rooftop lounge, the city's skyline glittering below. Raina, in a sequined crop top, slid a cocktail toward her. "Okay, Miss Inc. by K, you're out here toppling tech bros without even trying," she said, her grin wicked. "Jordan's losing it, and you're about to be in Forbes. How's it feel?" Keisha laughed, but her eyes were distant. "It feels surreal. I didn't mean to start a war, Raina. I just wanted to be me." Raina leaned forward, her voice fierce. "You didn't start nothing. He did, when he called you nothing. Now the world's seeing who's really running things. Own it, Keisha." Keisha clinked her glass against Raina's, the fire in her friend's words reigniting her own. Jordan's world was cracking, but hers was just beginning to shine. The Forbes feature dropped on a crisp Atlanta morning, and Keisha's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. She sat cross-legged on Raina's couch, her laptop open to the article, Inc. by K, the artist redefining resilience in Atlanta's creative scene. The headline was bold, but the story was electric, a deep dive into Keisha's journey from graphic designer to stay-at-home wife to the anonymous creator of a viral brand. The article didn't name Jordan but didn't need to. The subtext was clear. Keisha had risen from someone's shadow to become a star in her own right. A stunning photo of her, standing in front of her Phoenix mural, accompanied the piece, her dark eyes fierce and unapologetic. Raina burst into the apartment, waving her phone like a victory flag. "Keisha, you're Forbes' finest," she shouted, pulling her into a hug. "This article is everywhere. Twitter, IG, even my auntie's church group chat. You're a whole icon." Keisha laughed, her cheeks flushing. "It's wild, Raina. They called me a trailblazer. Me. I was just trying to survive. Survive. Raina scoffed, plopping onto the couch. You're thriving, baby. But real talk, Jordan's gonna see this. You ready for the fallout? Keisha's smile faded. Jordan had been radio silent since the divorce papers, but the Forbes feature was like waving a red flag in front of a bull. I don't know, she admitted. He's already losing investors. This might push him over the edge. Raina's eyes narrowed. Let him fall. He built his castle on your back, and now you're building your own. He can't touch you. Before Keisha could respond, her phone lit up with a DM from Simone, the Creative Hustle podcast host. Keisha, Forbes just made you untouchable. Atlanta Legacy Gala wants you as a guest speaker. You in? Keisha's heart skipped. The gala was the pinnacle of Atlanta's high society, a world she'd only ever entered as Jordan's +1. Now, they wanted her. She typed a quick reply, I'm in. Then she turned to Raina, her voice trembling with excitement. The Legacy Gala. They want me to speak. Raina hooped, jumping up. That's your stage, Keisha. You're about to walk into their world and own it. Jordan's gonna choke when he sees you there. Keisha grinned, but a flicker of nerves lingered. The gala was a battlefield, and Jordan would be there, his pride wounded and his empire crumbling. She'd need more than courage. She'd need a plan. The invitation arrived in a cream envelope, sealed with gold wax and embossed with the Atlanta Legacy Gala's crest. Keisha held it in Raina's living room, her fingers tracing the elegant script, Ms. Keisha Robinson, guest speaker. It was surreal. 2 years ago, she'd attended the gala on Jordan's arm, smiling silently as he networked with Atlanta's elite. Now, she was invited as a star in her own right, recognized for Ink by K and her viral Forbes feature. She called Aunt D, needing her wisdom to ground her. The phone rang twice before Aunt D's warm voice came through, laced with the clatter of pots in her southwest Atlanta kitchen. Well, my superstar niece, Aunt D said, her pride palpable. Forbes and now the gala? You're making moves, baby. Keisha laughed, curling up on the couch. It's a lot, Aunt D. They want me to speak, but Jordan's gonna be there. I served him divorce papers, and now I'm stepping into his world. What if he does something? Aunt D's tone sharpened, all fire and love. Let him try. You're not that girl he tried to dim anymore. You're Keisha Robinson, creator of Ink by K, Forbes' finest. You walk into that gala like you own it, because you do. He's the one who's gotta answer for underestimating you. Keisha's eyes stung, her aunt's words a bomb. How do I even prepare for this? I've never spoken to a crowd like that. Speak your truth, Aunt D said simply. Tell him how you rose, how you built something from nothing. That's your power, Keisha. And wear something that screams you, not his version of you. Keisha hung up, her resolve hardening. She texted Raina, Gala's official. I need a dress that says Ink by K. Raina's reply was instant. Oh, we're about to make history. The gala was 2 weeks away, and Keisha could feel the stakes rising. This wasn't just an event, it was her declaration of independence, and Jordan would be there to witness it. That night, she scrolled through X, where the buzz about her Forbes feature was still alive. But a new post caught her eye. Nexus AI CEO rumored to be losing key staff. Divorce drama fueling the fire? Keisha's heart raced. The world was watching, and Jordan's carefully crafted image was unraveling. She closed her laptop, a quiet strength settling in. The gala would be her stage, and she was ready to shine. Raina's studio in East Atlanta was a whirlwind of fabric and ambition. Bolts of silk and satin spilled across tables, and mood boards pinned with Keisha's designs lined the walls. Keisha stood on a small platform, draped in muslin as Raina pinned the beginnings of her gala gown. The dress was a vision taking shape, a floor-length masterpiece with a fitted bodice and a flowing train, designed to showcase Keisha's art. The fabric would be hand-painted with her phoenix design, its fiery wings curling across the gown in shades of crimson, gold, and indigo. Raina stepped back, her hands on her hips, assessing her work. "This dress is gonna stop hearts, Keisha," she said, her eyes gleaming. "You're not just walking into that gala, you're claiming it. Jordan's gonna need oxygen when he sees you." Keisha laughed, but her nerves were raw. "I hope so. I keep picturing him there, staring me down, trying to make me feel small again." Raina knelt to adjust the hem, her voice fierce. "He can stare all he wants. You're not small. You're a damn supernova. This gown, your art, your speech, it's all you, Keisha. He's got no power here." Keisha glanced at the mirror, catching a glimpse of the muslin's silhouette. Even unfinished, it felt like armor, a manifestation of Ink by K's spirit. "You're right," she said, her voice steadying. "This is my moment. But what if I freeze up during the speech?" Raina stood, brushing her braids over her shoulder. "You won't. You've been speaking your truth since that Instagram live. This is just a bigger stage. Tell him how you built Ink by K from pain, how you rose when someone tried to bury you. That's your story, and it's bulletproof." Keisha nodded, the words sinking in. Raina's confidence was infectious, but the stakes felt higher than ever. The gala was in 3 days, and Jordan's silence was unnerving. She'd heard from Nia that he'd been spotted at a bar, ranting about disloyalty to anyone who'd listen. His investors were pulling back, his staff were jumping ship, and the ex-posts were relentless. Keisha's rise was a mirror to his fall, and she knew he'd come for her at the gala. Maybe not physically, but with words, with glares, with the weight of his wounded pride. As Raina pinned the final seam, Keisha's phone buzzed with a text from Malik. "Gown looking good? You're about to redefine the gala. Proud to back you." Attached was a photo of her Phoenix mural, now installed at his co-working space, captioned, "Ink by K's legacy begins." Keisha smiled, her heart swelling. The gown, the speech, the gala, it was all a culmination of her journey. She wasn't just attending as Keisha Robinson. She was arriving as Ink by K, and no one, not even Jordan, could dim her light. The Atlanta Legacy Gala was a glittering affair, held in the grand ballroom of the Four Seasons Hotel, where crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over Atlanta's elite. Keisha Robinson stood at the entrance, her heart pounding but her posture regal. Raina's custom gown hugged her frame, its hand-painted phoenix design blazing across the deep indigo fabric, the fiery wings curling from her bodice to the flowing train. Her hair was swept into a high bun, adorned with gold pins, and her makeup was bold, smoky eyes and a crimson lip that screamed confidence. She was no longer Jordan's +1. She was Keisha Robinson, the creator of Ink by K, and tonight, she was the moment. The doorman nodded as she handed over her invitation, and she stepped into the ballroom alone. Heads turned. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Tech moguls, politicians, and influencers craning their necks to see the woman behind the Forbes feature and the viral TikTok interview. Keisha felt the weight of their gazes but kept her chin high, her steps deliberate. The phoenix on her gown seemed to pulse with life, a symbol of her rebirth. She spotted Raina near the bar, radiant in a gold jumpsuit, who rushed over with a grin. "Girl, you're serving main character energy," Raina said, her voice a mix of pride and awe. "The room's buzzing. They know you're not here to play." Keisha laughed, her nerves easing. "I'm trying not to trip over this train. You see Jordan yet?" Raina's eyes scanned the room, her expression hardening. "Not yet, but he's here. Nia texted me. He's at a table with some investors, looking like he's trying to save face. Stay sharp." Keisha nodded, her resolve steeling. She mingled briefly, shaking hands with a city councilwoman and a gallery owner who gushed about Ink by K. But her eyes kept darting to the crowd, searching for Jordan. Then she saw him, across the room, in a tailored tuxedo. His charm dialed up as he laughed with a group of men. His eyes met hers, and for a moment, the air crackled with unspoken tension. His smile faltered, replaced by a flicker of rage, but he turned back to his group, dismissing her with a glance. "He's watching," Keisha murmured to Raina, her voice low. "Let him watch," Raina said, handing her a glass of champagne. "You're about to own this night. He's just a spectator now." Keisha took a sip, her heart racing. The gala's MC announced the keynote panel, and her name echoed through the speakers. This was it, her moment to claim the stage, with Jordan in the audience, forced to witness her rise. The ballroom stage was bathed in soft light, a long table set with microphones for the keynote panel, trailblazers of Atlanta's future. Keisha took her seat beside a biotech CEO and a non-profit founder, her hands folded to hide their slight tremble. The moderator, a polished journalist named Elise, introduced her with a nod to the Forbes feature. Keisha Robinson, the visionary behind Ink by K, whose art and story have inspired thousands, Elise said, prompting a wave of applause. Keisha's eyes scanned the crowd, finding Jordan at a front table, his jaw tight, his gaze locked on her. She felt a surge of defiance. This was her stage, not his. Elise turned to her first. Keisha, your journey from anonymity to a celebrated artist is remarkable. What drove you to create Ink by K? Keisha leaned into the microphone, her voice clear and steady. I created Ink by K because I was told I was nothing without someone else's success. I was made to feel like my dreams, my art, didn't matter. But I found my voice through my work, through phoenixes and shattered crowns and designs that say, you are enough. Ink by K is for anyone who's ever been underestimated, especially women who've been asked to shrink. The room erupted in applause, and Keisha felt a rush of power. She didn't name Jordan, but the subtext was unmistakable. His face was a mask of barely contained fury, his fingers drumming on the table. Elise pressed further. You've spoken about personal challenges. How did you balance those with building a brand? Keisha smiled, her eyes never leaving Jordan's. It wasn't easy. I had to learn to prioritize myself, to believe in my worth when someone else didn't. I built Ink by K quietly, in the shadows, until I was ready to step into the light. And now, I'm here. The crowd cheered, some standing, and Keisha's heart soared. She glanced at Raina, who gave her a thumbs up from the sidelines. But Jordan's reaction was what lingered. He leaned back in his chair, his smirk gone, replaced by something darker. As the panel ended, Elise thanked the speakers, and Keisha stepped off the stage, her gown trailing like a royal cape. She'd just rewritten her story in front of Atlanta's elite, and Jordan had no choice but to watch. Backstage, Keisha was swarmed by admirers, gallery owners, influencers, and a young artist who clutched her hand and said, "You're why I'm not giving up." Keisha's chest swelled with pride, but her mind was on Jordan. She knew he wouldn't let her speech go unanswered. As the crowd thinned, she stepped into a quiet hallway to catch her breath, only to find him waiting, his tuxedo slightly rumpled, his eyes blazing. "You think you're slick, huh?" Jordan said, his voice low and venomous. "Throwing shade up there, making me look like the bad guy? You're still my wife, Keisha. You don't get to rewrite our story." Keisha stood her ground, the phoenix on her gown catching the light. "I'm not your wife anymore, Jordan. I signed the papers. And I didn't rewrite anything. I told my truth. You're the one who called me nothing. I was never your shadow, and I'm done letting you think I was." His laugh was bitter, his hands clenched. "You think this little art thing makes you somebody? Nexus is still my empire. You're just a trend, Keisha. You'll fade." She stepped closer, her voice like steel. "Your empire's crumbling, Jordan. Investors are gone, your staff's jumping ship, and the world's talking about me. I built Ink by K from nothing, while you built lies. Who's fading now?" Jordan's face twisted, and for a moment, she thought he might lash out. But footsteps approached, Raina, flanked by Malik, who'd been watching from the crowd. "Everything okay here?" Malik asked, his calm tone laced with authority. Jordan glared at him, then back at Keisha. "This isn't over," he muttered, brushing past them and disappearing into the ballroom. Raina grabbed Keisha's arm, her eyes wide. "You good?" That man looked like he was about to combust. Keisha exhaled, her pulse still racing. "I'm good. I said what I needed to say." Malik's expression was unreadable, but his voice was warm. "You didn't just speak, Keisha. You commanded that room. The world's listening now." Keisha nodded, her resolve hardening. She'd faced Jordan and won, but the night wasn't over. The gala was still buzzing, and her speech was about to take on a life of its own. The gala continued, but the energy had shifted. Keisha's speech was the talk of the night, with attendees whispering about her poise, her story, and the unspoken target of her words. Keisha stood near the dessert table, sipping water to steady herself, when Nia rushed over, her phone in hand. "Keisha, you need to see this," she said, her voice urgent. Nia showed her a video circulating on X, already at 50,000 views. It was Jordan moments ago, outside the hotel, arguing with a security guard. His tie was loose, his voice slurred from too many drinks. "You don't know who I am," he shouted, as the guard blocked him from re-entering. "I'm Jordan Robinson. Nexus AI." The guard was unmoved, and the video cut off with Jordan stumbling toward a waiting car. Keisha's jaw dropped. "He's falling apart," she said, a mix of shock and pity in her voice. Nia's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "He's doing it to himself." That video's everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, even LinkedIn. His investors are gonna run faster than Usain Bolt. Keisha glanced across the room, where a few of Jordan's former allies were checking their phones, their expressions grim. The X posts were relentless. Nexus AI's CEO melts down at gala. Divorce drama the final nail? Another post linked to Keisha's speech, with the caption, "While he's crashing, she's soaring." #InkByK. Raina joined them, her grin wide. "Keisha, you didn't just steal the show, you ended him." "That speech? It's trending. People are calling you the Phoenix Queen." Keisha laughed, but her heart was heavy. She hadn't wanted to destroy Jordan, only to free herself. Still, his collapse was a stark contrast to her rise, and the world was taking notice. As she mingled, a producer from a local news station approached, asking for an interview. "Your story's inspiring millions," he said. "Can we feature you?" Keisha hesitated, then nodded. "Let's do it." Jordan's downfall was his own, but her triumph was hers to claim. By midnight, the gala was winding down, but the internet was just waking up. Keisha sat in Raina's car outside the hotel, scrolling through her phone as notifications poured in. Her speech had been clipped and shared across platforms, with #everythingwithout him trending on Twitter and TikTok. A viral video stitched her words, "I was never his shadow," with footage of Jordan's meltdown, captioned, "She rose, he fell." Iconic. It had 2 million views and counting. Raina, in the driver's seat, was practically bouncing. "Keisha, you're a legend. Twitter's calling you Atlanta's queen, and TikTok's got whole dance challenges to your speech. You broke the internet." Keisha laughed, but her eyes were on a DM from Simone, the podcast host. "Your speech is at 5M views. You're a movement. Lunch tomorrow?" She typed a quick yes and leaned back, overwhelmed. Her phone buzzed again, a text from Aunt D. "Baby, you were fire tonight. Told you you're a star. Love you." Before she could respond, Malik called. "Keisha, you've got the world's attention," he said, his voice calm but proud. "I just got a call from a major retailer. They want InkByK in their stores. We need to talk strategy." Keisha's heart raced. "Malik, I don't even know what to say. This is happening so fast." "You're ready for it," he said. "You've been ready. Keep shining." As Raina drove them home, Keisha stared out the window, the city's lights blurring past. Jordan's collapse was trending, but her triumph was the story. She wasn't just surviving, she was rewriting the narrative, and the world was watching. 2 weeks later, Keisha stood in a rented studio space in West Midtown, the new home of InkByK. The walls were lined with her designs, and a team of interns, young artists she'd hired, buzzed around, prepping for her next collection. Her phone was still blowing up from the gala, with #everythingwithout him still trending and her follower count nearing 100,000. But today was about the future. She just signed a $5 million collaboration deal with a national fashion brand. Her Phoenix design set to grace runways from Atlanta to New York. More importantly, she'd launched her mentorship program, Rise by K, for women rediscovering themselves after toxic relationships. The first workshop was booked solid, with applicants from across the country. Raina burst into the studio, a laptop in hand. "Keisha, you see this?" she said, pulling up a news article. It was about Jordan. Nexus AI had filed for bankruptcy, and he'd stepped down as CEO, citing personal challenges. The article mentioned Keisha's gala speech as a turning point, framing her as the catalyst for his downfall. Keisha shook her head, a mix of pity and closure in her eyes. "I didn't want to ruin him, Raina. I just wanted to be free." Raina squeezed her shoulder. "You didn't ruin him. He did that himself. You just showed the world what's possible when you bet on yourself." Keisha's phone buzzed with a call from Aunt D. "My Phoenix Queen," Aunt D said, her voice warm. "I'm so proud, baby. You built an empire, and you're lifting others up with you. That's your legacy." Keisha's eyes stung. "Thanks, Aunt D. I couldn't have done it without you." "You did it because you're you," Aunt D said. "Now keep going. The world's waiting." As Keisha hung up, she looked around the studio. Her art, her team, her vision. The gala had been her coronation, but this was her kingdom. She opened Instagram and posted a new design, a crown ablaze, captioned, "Built my own throne." #RiseByK. The likes poured in, but Keisha's focus was on the interns, the workshop, the future. Jordan was a memory, fading fast. She was Keisha Robinson, the Phoenix Queen, and her empire was just beginning.